RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 396. Our guest is Johnell Holly, the Executive Vice President for U.S. and Latin America Operations at FM. He is also the Board Chair for the Spencer Educational Foundation. We will learn about his fascinating career and leadership philosophies. But first, let's talk about some virtual workshops. The next RIMS CRMP exam prep with Parima will be held virtually July 21st and 22nd. Registration links are on this episode's notes. And we have a summertime webinar on July 16th. Zurich will present Too Hot to Ignore, Heat-Related Injuries and Workers' Compensation. Register at rims.org/webinars and via the link on this episode's show notes. Also on the webinars page, you will see a two-part series hosted by the RIMS membership department. The Classroom to Career webinar series highlights how RIMS equips students with the knowledge, skills, and connections needed to thrive in risk management careers. Participants will gain insights into industry trends, career pathways, and practical tools that help them confidently step into the evolving world of risk management after graduation. These sessions will be hosted on September 1st and 9th. These sessions are member exclusives and complimentary for members, of course. So if you are interested in becoming a member, this would be the time. Visit rims.org/membership. And we've got another popular virtual series to tell you about. Folks, you can enroll now in the RIMS CRO Certificate Program in Advanced Enterprise Risk Management hosted by the famous James Lam. Beginning July 15th, workshops will be held bi-weekly from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. A link to registration is on this episode's show notes. Speaking of ERM, the RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. And the deadline for session submissions was extended through June 26th. Visit rims.org/ERM2026 to get those final submissions in. Registration will open in July. Folks, RIMS is back on YouTube. Our handle is at RIMS Official Channel. We've got plenty of videos there, including RIMScast, RIMScast Canada video podcasts, and other informative and entertaining content from RIMS. Subscribe to the channel today. We have more plugs later. Let's get on with the show. Our guest today is Johnell Holly. He is the Executive Vice President for U.S. and Latin America Operations at FM. He is also the Board Chair for the Spencer Educational Foundation. He caught my attention last year at the Spencer's Funding Their Future Gala, which this year will be held September 17th at the world-famous Waldorf Astoria in New York City. More on that later. I found Johnell's career journey to be incredibly inspiring, and he is here to discuss his path from humble upbringings to the military to the risk and insurance space, and ultimately to philanthropic missions and leadership with Spencer. I'm confident this dialogue will resonate with anyone who feels that the odds are against them and is looking for extra motivation to overcome and choose the hard challenges in life and career. Let's get to it. Johnell Holly, welcome to RIMScast.
Here we are, X amount of months later, ahead of the Funding Their Future Gala in 2026, where your good friend Mariah Propus is going to be honored. She's one of two honorees. And are you excited for the gala?
Oh, absolutely. It's just one of those premier events of the year. I think that it has certainly evolved over the years. Every year it seems to get better and better. And continues to achieve new heights. And so I'm excited to see where it goes this year and into the future, as well.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about your association with Spencer in a little bit. But one of the reasons that I wanted to bring you on is really because you come from what I can remember and from what I've learned, very humble beginnings. You grew up in Compton, which is one of those fabled places from music, especially music and film, has demonstrated that Compton's a rough neighborhood to come from, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then you went on to serve in the military. Did you do that just to get the hell out of Compton?
It not exactly, but kind of.
Okay.
I think, in my opinion, there was a lot of things happening in terms of how I grew up, and I wanted something different. And so, from that standpoint, I was, ready to go anywhere except stay where I was at. And so, that didn't have to be the military. And in fact, more than it was the military, it was I wanted to get a very, very good education. And so, as much as it is the military, it was also the United States Military Academy, which, in my opinion, would provide a very good education from a very high profile institution.
Excellent. Yeah. And what years did you enlist?
So I was at the academy from 1990, and I graduated in 95. And then from 95, I went into the Army as a commissioned officer. And I was in the Army up until 2001, just before my actual last day of active duty was the week prior to 9/11.
Oh my goodness. So you went to the academy during, if I'm hearing it correctly, during the Gulf War, and you got out just before what would have been a 2-decade stay possibly in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So, well, we thank you for your service, because that in itself is a wild experience and a wild story, and we're very appreciative that you served. And does that resonate with you still to this day? Are there skills that you picked up from your education and from your training that you use in risk management today?
Yeah, well, I think that certainly, there's a lot to what I do today in my current role. But I think in getting to this spot, there were many, many things that I could take away, not just from my time in the military, but my childhood and my desire to improve myself personally. But I think that certainly in the military, there are some things that were done that resonated, that made it very, very easy for me, I think, to be more successful outside of the military.
Yeah.
And so, if I were to point to anything such as that, it would be, the work ethic, sort of making the choice to do the harder things when they present themselves. And it's just like, doing the harder military schools, because once you get those done, then everything else is a bit easier. And it could be like taking a tough assignment or taking a tough job within FM, because I know that if I do it, a job that no one else wants to do, then I will have what most people won't have. And so I did things like that deliberately over the years. And so I think my mantra would be to choose hard.
Yeah.
Always choose hard. And hopefully you get to a point where that no longer has to happen.
I listened to the Calm app, and one of the speakers on the Calm app was talking about that very thing, about how it's so much easier to choose. If you have 6 things coming up, one of them is the tough one and 5 of them are the easy ones. People will choose the 5 easy ones first before they get to the tough one. But you seem like you do the opposite. You do the tough one first, then you do the 5 easy ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And that has been your unofficial philosophy or approach throughout your career?
Yeah, well, and not just throughout my career. I mean, I think I learned this very, very young. I remember back to when I was a young kid and I didn't like how I was showing up, appearance-wise, confidence-wise. And what I knew I needed to do was to position myself with more strengths. And the only way I was going to get those was to do all the things that I felt like I was either afraid to do or hated to do. I sort of had to face fears and get over it and get through the hard stuff. I teach my kids that today.
Yeah. How many kids you have?
5.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and you got a mix of boys and girls?
Mix of boys and girls. All of them are my older kids are all girls. I had 3 older girls. One of them, my oldest, also graduated from West Point, like myself. And my other daughter, below her, she's actually on a destroyer right now in the Mediterranean, so she's in the war. and serving.
Oh, wow.
Both are. And then my two sons, who are the youngest. So I had the three girls, and I thought to myself, I really would like a boy, at
Just
least
one.
one. Ended up having two, but both of them are highly successful, top 15, 20 in the nation for football. One is a freshman, redshirt freshman at Michigan this year. And the other one will be headed out to FSU in Georgia in the next week for his official visit. So he'll pick one of them.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Well, I hope your daughters are safe and in regular communication with you to let you know that they're all right.
Yeah, they are. I talk to them regularly.
Good. And then as far as your boys go, maybe there's some sweet NIL deals coming down the pike for them. Who knows?
Yeah. No, it's a different world in that environment. But, the NIL deals that they're talking about are peanuts to the insurance negotiations that I do on a daily basis.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you left the Army, did you have a career in mind, or did you know it was going to be risk and insurance?
No. Insurance was definitely not on my radar.
Right.
At all.
So how'd they lure Johnell Holly in?
What happened specifically was at the time, I was being asked by the military to go back and get my master's. And that meant that I had to leave the state of Washington, where I was currently assigned. And when that happened, I didn't want to leave the state of Washington because I had some personal things that I wanted to be able to be there to take care of.
Sure.
So I needed to look and see what other options were out there. So I went to a headhunter, and at the headhunter, I interviewed. They had a conference down in San Francisco. I went down and I interviewed for 5 or 6 different companies and ended up getting offers at all of them.
Wow.
But only one of them had the position in Seattle where I wanted to be. And because of that, I said, I will, after some discussions and some negotiations, I said, this is where I'm going to give it a go as a consultant engineer. So at an entry-level position for FM. What I wasn't fully aware of is that it was an insurance company. I thought I was going into engineering and if you're young and you're not that aware of how everything works, and certainly in the military, you're very much sheltered and you're not very familiar with how real business takes place. So once I got into FM and started to look around, I realized very quickly that the company is an insurance company. Some people will say FM is an engineering company that provides insurance, but it is an insurance company. Yeah. And once I saw that piece of the business, I was very excited and very interested in it and wanted to get over there to that side of it very quickly.
Wow. Okay. And that was between 2001, 2003, I'm guessing?
Yeah. So in 2001, I started at the end of 2001, I started with FM. Mm-hmm. By 2002, I had moved over into the business.
Wow. Okay. And so you've been there. Oh, wow. You're kind of a lifer, 25 years, right?
Yeah. 25 years.
And how has the profession changed in your view since then?
Well, I think that, early on, insurance and risk management in general was often considered a byproduct or a secondary thought to the business. And it had been carrying that way in many different functions, not just in business, but outside of business, even in the military. The idea of understanding the hazards and operating to reduce those hazards so that you can run your operations and your business more effectively and with a lot more stability didn't exist at the levels that it does today. Yeah, at the levels that it does today, thinking about risk and ensuring that you can be and are resilient is no longer an option. It's not a choice. You cannot just hope that things aren't going to go wrong. You have to now assume that things are going to go wrong, and those that do that well will be more successful.
Right.
Let's take a quick break and talk about all the fantastic RIMS events coming up in 2026. The annual Florida Educational Conference will be held July 28th through August 1st, once again at the lovely Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. A link to the event is on this episode's show notes. And you can register now for the second annual RIMS Texas Regional Conference, which will be held August 10th through the 12th at the wonderful Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. The 11th annual Chicagoland Risk Forum will return to the old post office on Thursday, September 24th. Visit chicagolandriskforum.org for more information. The RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. The agenda is live and registration is now open. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. And save the dates, October 18th through the 21st. We will be in Quebec City to celebrate the 50th live RIMS Canada Conference. Booth sales are open and sponsorship opportunities are still available. And advanced registration is open now. Visit rimscanadaconference.ca for more information. And also remember to check out rims.org/Canada for our spin-off show, RIMScast Canada, hosted by National Conference Committee Chair Aaron Luconi. And as we said at the top, the RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. The deadline for educational content submissions was extended to Friday, June 26th. So get those submissions in now. The link is on this episode's show notes. Registration opens in July. And now let's return to our interview with Johnell Holly.
When you started at FM, you were doing more client service and sales toward the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was your ability to connect with people and communicate something that you picked up while you were in the military, or was it something you just naturally had, or was it just further developed at FM?
Well, I think that I was a leader in the military.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I was a captain when I got out. So I was already in a position of authority and had a good amount of autonomy as well. So to come into FM and be a little bit older than my peers who were coming in at the same time, most of them were coming straight out of college.
Right.
And to, number one, have that maturity was pretty key. But I think the best thing that I learned about being in the military is that rank doesn't matter.
Okay.
What matters is how you treat people. And I realize that that just doesn't matter with how you treat people that you work with every day. It's how you treat every person that you interact with through and through. And if you can do that well, then and you can recognize that we're all just the same. We're all looking for the same stuff, trying to achieve the same things. We want to go home and spend time with our family. We want to take nice vacations. We want to buy a house, pay off our bills. There's no one in the world who doesn't want to do those things. And once you put it all into perspective and you take that approach with how you deal with people, I think that because relationships are king, that was true in the military. It's equally true in every other aspect of life.
Excellent. And then you started just by virtue of that, climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that it wasn't necessarily the intent to climb the corporate ladder.
Right. You were just doing a good job and people recognized it.
Yeah, and I think that the key component there is that I really wanted to do well in the jobs that I was in at the time. And I think that if you do well in the job, if you put your heart and effort and everything else into what you're doing, it gets recognized. And then folks want that experience and expertise in other areas. And that's how you create opportunities for yourself.
Absolutely. So you had successes. I'm sure along the way that there were some hardships or failures, things that maybe were out of your control. Is there anything you want to share that fits that category that did not deter you?
I've had a lot of different jobs in the company, as you know.
Yeah.
Probably the most difficult job for me, which some folks thought would be the easiest, was sales.
Okay. I can see it.
And sales really challenged me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very deliberate person. I like to be strategic and I like to be very much so planned in how I approach things. And sales, you need to be a lot more fluid and you have a lot less structure. I don't think it has to be that way. I think sales, to be most effective, should have quite a bit of structure. But in the earlier days, it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And in that environment, that's not the best environment for me. But what it did do is it taught me, again, how to manage through situations like that and how to overcome it and get better at it. So in my opinion, it was, again, so much like choosing hard, although that wasn't the intent at the time. I thought I was choosing what was going to be the easiest job for me. And ultimately it wasn't, but it was the most developmental role, one of them. Maybe there's another one. It was the most developmental role for me within my career in FM that I think put me in a position to be in the roles that I'm in now.
Yeah. So it harkens back to the old, I don't want to say cliche, but the saying, we fall down so we can pick ourselves back up. And that sounds just like it. And I've worked with several sales professionals through the years, and I've sat right next to them as they had to do 50 cold calls a day to meet their quota. And I heard all their pitches, and I heard the successful ones, and I heard the unsuccessful ones, and I picked up little nuances in language that I still use today, not to sell anything, but just to be more personable. So,
Right.
so I personally have not been in sales, but I've been the wingman for it, and
Right.
it's fascinating to see who succeeds and who goes on to do other things. Because I think, obviously you're very articulate. You could deliver a message, but delivering a message and selling something are two different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to be resilient too. You got to be able to take a lot of no.
Oh yeah.
And be okay with that.
Yeah.
And so thick skin.
Yeah. And this was back, I'm guessing, well before Zoom. So you're making the cold calls, and you don't get to have
cold
that
calls and
no eye to eye,
meetings
right?
and lining them up and getting in the door.
Yep. Understood.
We will take one more quick break. Since Johnell Holly is joining us, we got to talk about what's happening with the Spencer Educational Foundation. Johnell will be at the Spencer Funding Their Future Gala 2026 in New York City at the world-famous Waldorf Astoria on September 17th. This year, Spencer will honor Sierra Signorelli of Zurich and last week's guest, Mariah Propus of RT Specialty. A link to the gala is on this episode's notes. Let's talk about the openings and deadlines for various Spencer Educational Foundation programs and grants. The Risk Manager on Campus application period is now open, and it will close on June 30th. Grant awardees, colleges and universities are typically notified in September. General grants are open, and the application deadline is July 30th. And internship grant applications open on August 15th and close on October 15th. Links to each of these grants are on this episode's show notes. And of course, you can visit spencered.org for more information. And let's conclude our interview with Spencer Board Chair Johnell Holly.
How have insurance sales professionals evolved since you left that position, or at least the ones at FM? Do they have more advantages now?
Selling remains difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I think within FM, we're not a sales-focused organization. We need sales.
Sure.
It's critically important, but FM is about retention. It's about client retention, client relationships, and building on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for our company, when a salesperson, because if you go to any other company, they have a product, call it a widget, call it a mobile phone, and they go, I just sold 100 million mobile phones to X. No one in the company is going to be upset with that. Everyone's going to be ecstatic.
Sure.
But for FM, we're one of the only companies that a salesperson that comes to us and they go, you know what? I sold our policy to a fireworks manufacturer.
Okay.
And we're going to go, oh, no, you didn't. We're the one company that the sale has to be both internal as well as external. And before you can go out and do what you need to do, you have to get sign off from someone who says that company is a good fit for us for various reasons. And so I think that first off, there's that exists within our organization. the next piece, kind of back to your original question is how has it evolved over the years? I think that it goes back to what I was saying earlier, and that is sales wasn't very structured. It didn't have, I guess, the pillars or corners that sort of suggested what good looks like if you were to be trained or developed and prepared appropriately. And I think that there's a lot more of that available and being conducted so that you can be a lot more successful in selling.
Johnell, at what point did you become aware of RIMS and the Spencer Educational Foundation?
RIMS from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, good.
The first day that I started within FM, we were talking about RIMS, and RIMS was a normal part of the conversation. To the extent that I participated with it in the early days, I did not. Other than some of the local events that we might have attended on the West Coast when I was on the West Coast.
Right. You were in Washington State at the time?
I was in Washington, and then I went down to LA from there.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, so
and so there was those connections that the Western Regional RIMS, the Los Angeles RIMS, things like that.
Yeah.
And then Spencer came around a lot longer, further into the future. Probably it had been almost, I want to say, almost 15 years in before I really became aware of Spencer. Now I know that today we're much more out there, and obviously our mission is to, create education and awareness for our industry. And in order to do that, for students and everyone else, I think everyone in our industry needs to know about it.
Yeah.
And so I think now we are at a point where we are recognized as a foundation almost throughout the insurance industry. But I also feel like we need to be recognized even outside of the insurance industry as much as possible as well. And I think we're on our way, for what we've accomplished thus far with not me, but it's always been a buildup of all of the efforts and work all the way back to Spencer himself that have led to where we are today. And I think it's just on a magnificent pace, and it'll continue to do so.
And why did it resonate with you so much personally? Did you look at it and say, this was the sort of thing I wish I would have known about when I first entered? Or did you know somebody who brought you in? How'd it work?
No, I mean, part of it was someone who brought me in. And
you want to name names?
Well, okay. So Brian Calori, who was one of the prior chairs of the organization, who also worked for FM, thought that it would be a good fit and a great opportunity for me to be a part of it. And he actually suggested that I be recommended to join the board as one of the members. And so I did. And within the first couple of meetings, I realized that we could do this better. And I started speaking up to that extent. Now that either helps you or hurts you. And all I wanted to do was help the organization do its best. Well, that means, why don't you do it? And then I joined the executive committee and then continued, in various other positions to where I am now as the chair.
Yeah. Excellent. And I'm so glad you're there because you seem to be very enthusiastic about it. And that was evident in your address last year, I think. And you're going to be up on stage again this year at the Gala?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
You comfortable doing that? You seem comfortable.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. It's nothing. It's just a few hundred people at the Waldorf Astoria. No big deal. Yeah.
That'll be fine.
And your good friend and our recent guest, Mariah Propus, was just on the show. And is there a lot of camaraderie among the board members? You know her a long time, right?
Yeah, I've known her, and she's no longer on the board. Obviously,
Right.
she's now off and one of our honorees. But I think that the interesting thing about the board is we're all competitors for the most part. There's some partnerships, but there's a lot of competitors that are on the board. But the minute we get into that room, we take off our hats that we wear back at our organizations, and we come together and we focus on the mission of Spencer. And I think that what I can tell and I can always observe is that that sincere desire to want to help our industry advance, and it starts well before folks hear about it. We have to really go back and educate folks in the middle school and primary school and so on, to really get folks going.
Yeah.
You know the saying, no one ever chose to be in insurance. You don't wake up one day and say, when I grow up, I can't wait to be an insurance agent. Just doesn't happen. And so, but it's an amazing industry and an amazing career, and it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And you can enjoy some of the greatest things in life by having a career in insurance and risk management. And so, being able to talk about that and drive that throughout throughout the world is pretty inspiring.
Harkening back to something that you said about kind of hooking the youth while they're young and talking about risk and insurance when they're in high school, what are the skills and habits and character traits that are going to be the most preeminent among the risk and insurance leaders of the next generation? What do you think?
The world has always been changing. What I remember 25 years ago, someone told me, you know what, things are going to stay the same for a while. So don't be too interested in change too much. And that's just not the truth, right? The world that's probably the one thing you can guarantee. The one constant in the world is change.
Sure.
And I think that the more all of us, including kids, can start to embrace that reality, the better they will be. I think that that's absolutely important for all of us to do that. And so I think the insurance industry is always going to follow the world, and the world is going to always be looking for the next best thing. Someone's out there innovating and inventing and trying to come up with the new thing. And the new thing is going to come with risk. And our capability and responsibility to be able to protect that risk or associated risk is what we do. It's why we're here. And that part is somewhat exciting.
So we're looking forward to seeing you Thursday, September 17th at the Waldorf Astoria for the 2026 Funding Their Future Gala. We got Sierra Signorelli from Zurich is one of the honorees. Mariah Propus is the second honoree. They're co-honorees. And it's going to be a great time. I look forward to seeing you up on stage. And before you go, because your presence last year resonated with me so much, I immediately wrote this down, and I've been holding on to it for a while. So here it goes. So you came from very humble upbringings, and you had this wild trajectory professionally in your career, obviously, and you've got 5 kids, so you've got a lot. you've had quite a journey. So imagine an audience member hearing this episode of RIMScast, and they might similarly come from a difficult background. They might face long odds, or just not know what their path forward is going to be. What message would you have for that person today?
It's probably the same message that I have for a lot of folks that I interact with from a similar background when I get to do that. My family still lives in Compton, so I still get to interact with kids, and I get to interact with a lot of college athletes that are from not the greatest upbringing. And so I think that first off, I think the person who ever said that you're not a product of your environment was wrong. I think you are a product of your environment. And depending on what that environment has in store for you, you either want to be there or you don't want to be there. And so the first thing I would say is the one thing you can't control to some extent is whether or not you're there. Whether or not you're there. Change your environment. And if you can't change your environment, change the way you show up in your environment. Do the things that are going to give you more experiences. Do the things, the hard things in most cases, that are going to create more opportunities for you down the road is the way I would say it. And it doesn't have to be big things. It doesn't have to be, you have to do something earth-shattering. It could be the little things that you start to build your toolbox so that when the time does come and the opportunity now presents itself, you have all of these things that you have built for yourself that will uniquely position you to take advantage of that situation. I think that that's what's important. You need to put yourself in a position so that when the time comes, you're ready to go. And that often means, like I said, choose hard. I say it all the time. If you're willing to choose hard, then you're going to differentiate yourself. And there's just no way in the world that doesn't pay off at some point. And it will.
Excellent. These are wonderful words of wisdom, and they resonate with me, and I'm positive they're going to resonate with the audience. And I look forward to, you're an inspiring guy. So I look forward to hearing more from you, and I look forward to seeing you in September. And I thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it.
Special thanks again to Johnell Holly of FM and Spencer Board Chair. We look forward to seeing him at the Spencer Educational Foundation's 2026 Funding Their Future Gala, which will be held September 17th at the world-famous Waldorf Astoria in New York City. Visit spencered.org for more information and to purchase your ticket and for sponsorship opportunities. And remember to check out last week's episode, RIMScast number 395, to hear an interview with Mariah Probus, who is one of this year's Spencer Funding Their Future honorees. And now I want to speak about a topic near and dear to my heart, sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast has produced special episodes for JB Boda, The Hartford, Alliant, Zurich, Highwire, AXA XL, Prudent Insurance Brokers, High Trust, and Aon. Links to sponsored episodes are on our show notes. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Contact pd@rims.org for more information. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about risk knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine. This is the Society's official quarterly digital publication. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continued support.